Let's bring Billy Osborne in, a former NFL scout, former player with the Philadelphia Eagles, Pitt Panthers as well. I hate saying that. He joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline, and you broke down this game a lot. You could also hear Billy Osborne doing the Inside the Birds podcast with Jeff Mosher, who's going to join us tonight from 4 to 6. So when you hear all that, Oz, do they have the personnel? Do they trust the ground game? Do you like his answer?
Well, it's a mixed bag if you ask me. I do believe him that he trusts the ground game. I do believe it, and he's right. When you go 1st and 10 and you lose 2 yards, and then you're in 2nd and 12, I do understand what he's saying. My take, and it's been my take for the last 3 weeks, is that okay, I understand this is a passing league, so I'm not necessarily arguing. Keep in mind, I'm a former quarterback and a former wide receiver, so I want to chuck the ball. And I played in the run and shoot under John Jenkins. And if anybody wants to talk about passing numbers, go look up run and shoot. Go look up Dave Klinger. Go look up John Jenkins. So I played in that offense. I know I'm all about passing. My feeling is this, though. There's a time and a place to do everything. And I understand this is a passing league, but I think what they're doing is they're getting – like, I wrote down a note to myself in the Giants game. This was in the first quarter, and my note to myself was lazy play calling. And, again, I'm an Eagle fan. Like, I want them to win, and that's a note that – and what I meant by that was that they seem to be doing the same thing over and over again. And when you run the ball, it's like, let's try a off-tackle zone run. None of these, take the guy in motion, fake the handoff, hit the wide receiver like on a sweep or – there seems to be very little ingenuity given to the running game. So, of course, when you run it, you're going to be thrown for a yard or 2 loss. And then yesterday in the RPOs, there's a play, Mike, and Ryan, there's a play that just, to me, it just summed it up. It was an RPO late in the game. They completely disrespected the run so much that when they went to hand the ball off, they went man coverage. The safety turned around and flipped and ran right at Jeffries, who was running the slant right behind him. So they had a guy behind Jeffries and a guy underneath him. So they didn't even respect the RPO that they were going to run it. They just said, okay, they're going to run an RPO, they're definitely passing it. And I had never seen a team do that against an RPO before, because that's what you do in RPO. If you say you're going to stop the run, we're going to pass it. If you're going to stay back in the pass, you're going to run it. They said, try and run it. We're going to let you know we're going to stop the pass, so just go ahead and run it. And they still didn't run it.
Right, yeah.
So to me, there was just a lot of there's a lot of things going on there, Mike.
So when you saw this matchup at the beginning of the week, Oz,
yes,
what
sir.
were some of the concerns? Because most people thought, okay, Carolina's unimaginative on offense. They're solid on defense, but they're not great. I mean, a lot of people just saw Carolina as a good team, not a great team. You had some concerns. You actually picked Carolina to win this game.
I did. I picked them to win 23-16. And so I was almost on it, and 20-16 on another thing that we were doing it live. And the reason I said that was because I felt like we were going to continue to pass the ball so much. And I thought that it's almost like a ripple effect, Mike. When you pass the ball so much, it has a negative effect in some areas, which you can take advantage of. But I think it was hurting the pass protection. I think it was getting Carson hit way too much. I think it was limiting our ability to get the ball down the field. We were relying so much on the tight ends. And I think because we were passing the ball so much, the defensive linemen were saying, and the linebacker were saying, go ahead. We're not even thinking about it. We're just going to rush up the field. We're not even going to worry about the run. And I thought, well, they need to run screens, draws, counters, something to take advantage of that upfield, rush. But then I thought, Carolina's not a really rushing team. So I doubt they're going to put screen draws and counters in to help the offensive line. So that was my one concern. My other concern was injuries. I know Jason was banged up, Jason Peters. There was another guy on the offensive line was banged up. We didn't have Sproles. And I didn't like the matchup with McShaffrey and some of our linebackers. And, of course, the tight end gives us fits all the time. And then I also thought this thing, Mike, was intangibles. And the intangibles that I thought was, okay, we beat the Giants. But if anybody saw the Giants game, the Giants quit in the second half. And the first game, they weren't really good. First half, they weren't really that good either. So I thought we may be thinking that we're back, but we're not. Secondly, it's a long week. So our week is a little bit disrupted, our work week, so we're going to have an extra couple days off. Some guys went out of town. And then thirdly, we're going to London. So I thought all those intangibles together, to me, were against it. And then the fourth intangible was Carolina was coming off getting their butt beat. And I thought when a team gets beat like that, they usually hunker down. So those are the four reasons why I thought that the four reasons and the four intangibles why I thought Carolina was going to win the game. Now, you could say, well, that was one pass completion from you being wrong. And you're right. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Keep in mind, I was rooting for the Eagles. But in the end, Carolina just came up and there was one or two plays better.
Tell us about Kuechly, 59, and how he really disrupted that final 4 plays of the game, because there was a lot of plays in between. Eagles go up 17-0, then Carolina takes the lead. But when it came push or shove late in that game, you need star players. 59's a star.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He comes up big. And, in that drive right before that, I think I may mention to you, the Eagles got, kind of on the wrong side of a pick play. There was a pick play. It was 3rd and 2, and McShaffrey came out of the backfield, and the referees didn't call it, and then 3 plays later, the Carolina scores. So the Eagles did not get the benefit of that call. And then next thing you know, the Eagles are driving. Somehow they get behind this Carolina secondary. 3 men get behind. One guy gets behind 3 guys. So now you're inside. You're thinking, okay, we're in good shape. Well, then Kuechly just tells you why he's an all-pro. And this guy also watched film. If you heard his interview after the game, Mike, he even said, I knew by watching film that they had some tendencies. And I just was starting to see him do the same thing out of the same packages. Because on the first down play, it was an RPO. He jumps up in the air. And that's the ball that Carson floated up in the air and it almost got intercepted. You remember that one that was a replay for 20 minutes?
Rarick Reed.
Okay, so that was supposed to be to Ertz, and the ball kind of got loose. And I think it got loose because just as he got ready to throw it, you see number 59 jumping up in the air like, it's not coming around me. I know you're passing this ball. Well, that was first down. Second down, they ran a running play. And if you see he started pointing to it. He goes up and he makes the tackle. All right, not a bad run. I think they got like 7 or 8 yards. So now it's 3rd and 2, I believe. Well, then on that 3rd down play, they run trips to the right, 2 backs to the left. So they're uncovered. So keep in mind, Mike, it's 3rd and 2, right? And you got 2 timeouts. They're not even under center. They're in shotgun. 3rd and 2. So that's 4 down territory, if you ask me. So you run the ball almost twice if you want and get the first down. Then you've got a new set of downs. But that was completely outside the realm of thinking. They go in shotgun. So the 3rd down play, they're having to get Jeffries on a skinny post. Well, they ran an under route thinking that Kuechly was going to jump the under route. What does Kuechly do? He realizes that the Eagles, when they go 3 wide and they run an under, they definitely are running something behind them. So he just turns and runs down the field and cuts Jeffries running that skinny post and knocks the play away for incompletion on 3rd down. Now you're like, now it's 4th and 2. Now he just made 3 plays in a row. So now it's 4th and 2. Eagles come out of the timeout. They go 3 receivers to the right, 2 receivers to the left. This time Ertz now is to the left. He's on the inside. So everybody and their mother knows they're going to try and hit Ertz. So he runs a little out route. They double him. Woods looks to his left. He's covered. He looks back to his right. He's got the inside dig route on about a 3-yard dig for the first down. He's thinking Kuechly's going to stay back and protect the middle because they got Jeffries on a middle read about 10 yards down the field. He says, I know what you guys are doing. He jumps the underneath dig, and just as Wentz goes to throw it, if you saw, he cocked his arm and he stopped it because 59 was sitting right there in front of the dig route to intercept it. And next thing you know, when Carson went to reload, he got hit and the ball went in the air. All 4 plays were impacted or stopped by number 59.
Billy, how much, I want to go back to the run real quick with you because I want your opinion on this. How much of the inconsistency of the running plays being called do you think has to do with the health of the offensive line? Jason Peters not getting any younger, torn bicep now, a quad he's dealing with. Lane Johnson's not healthy at all, not 100% at least. I mean, is Doug Pederson
wouldn't you think if they weren't healthy, you'd want to run block more than pass block?
I don't know. I'm just – that's why I'm asking Billy, like, what do you think Doug is seeing maybe that we aren't, if anything at all, and what changes possibly have to be made?
Well, again, when you and I and Mike are sitting here, I mean, we don't have the benefit of being in the meeting rooms and all that stuff. I mean, but I do know from hearing offensive linemen, living with offensive linemen, if you ask their choice, regardless if they're injured or not, they want to run block.
Right.
Offensive linemen are put on the planet. They think that they get their medal by run blocking. That's what they want. They'd rather have a 1,000-yard rusher than a 10,000-yard passer underneath their wings. That's what they want to do. So I think that there could be some of that, but I think that it's just because Doug is under the Andy Reid realm of thinking. And if you remember when Donovan was here, he went back there all the time and he was chucking it around. And if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they do the same thing. It's just that mentality. Again, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because there's not many times in this league where you can sustain 10, 15-yard plays and not get stopped or have to punt the football. I think you need explosive plays. But I think there is something to be said, and I think that's a good question. Like, why aren't they staying with the running game? And it's like it's like everybody knows it. And it seems to be, it's just like you continue to do the same thing, and he just puts Carson back there. Again, that's a perfect example if you really want to look at all examples. They're 3rd and 2 with, I think, either all their timeouts or 2 timeouts, and they go shotgun. Yep. And then they not only shotgun, they go empty backfield shotgun. So they're not even giving the defense any threat or any thoughts that we're going to run the football here on 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2. That, to me, is just, you're basically taking one dimension of the game and saying to the defense, don't worry about it, just worry about pass coverage because we're not going to run the football. I think that puts you at a disadvantage. I don't know if you have 2 cards, if you're playing cards with somebody and you take one card out and say, this is the only cards that I'm going to be playing with, I think that guy who's using the other hand, I think he's going to have an idea of what you're maybe doing. So I just think it gives it, and then I just think it has a ripple effect. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Well, what's the biggest concern, at least that you saw yesterday or maybe through the entire season so far, personnel-wise, from the offensive side of the ball? Who's sticking out to you in a negative way, besides the obvious answers? Like what's an issue that you saw yesterday or maybe throughout the season that's becoming a trend?
I think the lack of a big play receiver to get over top. I mean, now saying that, somehow Jeffries got behind the defense when they needed to flip the field. He did a great job on that. I think it's one of the big things that we see. I think the runners are running hard. I think Carson is back. To me, he hasn't missed anything. He's playing great. Zach Ertz is playing at a high level. We got Dallas Goedert, who's playing tremendous as another tight end. He can block. He can catch. I think the offensive line has been a little inconsistent, but to me, I think that goes back to play calling. The receivers, I don't think that they're anything glaring there. I think there was some consistencies with route running. I think there's some penalties that seem to be loading up on this team. I don't know why. It's not like they're turning the ball over. Defensively, I think they're playing. I think everything is okay right now. It just seems to be that they're not playing or not getting the breaks at that high level. And if you just ask me for one thing, my biggest concern on the Eagles right now, my concern is, number one is the secondary at times, obviously gives up too many big plays. And on offense, I just think that we're so pass heavy. It's having a ripple effect throughout the offense. That's what I think.
All right. What about on the defensive side then? Because there's a lot of debate. Okay, they're up 17-0. The defense has to close that game out. How are they able for 3 quarters to essentially Carolina looked overmatched for 3 quarters. How are they able for 3 quarters to dominate that game and then completely fall apart in that 4th quarter? Is that personnel, Jim Schwartz scheme? How do you see that defense in the 4th?
Well, I think sometimes it's attrition. I think when you look at sometimes you're going to be figured out, and sometimes you're going to get plays called against others. I think the Eagles, if you look at it, they basically had the game won. Cam Newton stepped up in the pocket. He's getting sacked. He's getting hit, and he jumps up in the air, and he somehow throws a ball out and completes it for, a 10, 12-yard gain when the game would have been over if they would have sacked him or if it had been completion. So it wasn't like they almost got him down. I think that sometimes I think about, I just think about the secondary, and 21, Darby, he seems to be consistently the one being beat. He got beat on that double move when, you know that they're going to try and take a shot in the end zone, and he got beat. The one thing that really glared to me, if you saw it, they ran a sweep, and Cam Newton was leading the sweep, and you have a chance to knock the living daylights out of the quarterback, and Darby darts behind the quarterback and tries to tackle the guy from behind and completely whiffs. I'm thinking to myself, usually what happens when there's a blocker in front, the first guy there either submarines that blocker or takes that blocker out, so the next guy then can make the tackle. He didn't do either. He didn't engage the blocker, and he didn't make the tackle. So I think sometimes there's unwillingness to to be tackled, but
right.
I thought the same thing. Like, it's 17-0, and now the defense. And I think what happened was, again, this is why it's a team game. I saw Jaworski ran a tweet and said that even though we were up 17-0, we ran the ball one time in the last 18 plays.
Yep.
And I think sometimes there, I think the play calling, yes, you want to run the ball so you can run the clock out. But also, you don't want to be too conservative because then what happened is the Eagles were forced to punt, and they didn't stay on the field. So if they stayed on the field, the defense wouldn't have had to be on there. But you're right. Defense made Carolina punt every single time up until the last 3 series.
Dominated the game.
They
dominated that game up until the fourth quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, they looked like they had no clue of what was going on. I'm thinking, did Schwartz just not make adjustments? Did they just kind of, half-ass it? I mean, to see the way they were playing for 3 quarters and then the drop-off was just magnificent.
Ozzy, how much of that is like lack of passion and lack of heart? I mean,
well, sometimes it's lack of focus. Did you see what the TV ran? The TV ran a little thing at the end of the game when in between the quarters they were waiting for the fourth quarter kickoff, and the entire kickoff team for the Eagles were out there dancing and breakdancing and basically hooting and hollering, like thinking the game was won because they're like, okay, it's the fourth quarter, we're up 17-0.
Right, now this is something though, like they did this last year, and people said, well, if you're going to dance, you better back it up, and they did. So now this year they win Thursday night. They win Thursday night, and now they're up 17-0, and it almost felt like they were like, you know what? We did this last year. We were having a good time. Let's bring it back. Yeah. And then of course, when you lose, it's something to point out. So
that's exactly. I didn't realize that they were dancing last year in the fourth quarter.
I don't know if it was fourth quarter particularly, but there were times where
they were
they're out there doing the electric slide, and people were.
Yes. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you
lose
lose
17-0 in this league, you would think that
that's a win, man.
Especially the Eagles playing at home, you have it won. But as we know, these things can happen. And I think it was just a culmination of things. And again, you got to give Carolina credit. They came back and they did some things. And
that's
one play here and there.
17-3 in the second half against Tennessee, and 17-0 at home, mind you. They are two really unforgettable type of losses. And when you go back and look
15,
at a season,
10.
fourth down, the Tennessee game, 3 fourth downs to extend that game, and then yesterday the fourth down to intend to extend this game. Those are kind of games when you look back to and you just ask the question, maybe it's just not our year, Yeah,
you could be right. And I saw the one time Jim Schwartz blitz, and they caught the blitz, perfectly. And they were able to get the guy singing up. So then you're saying to yourself, well, in that situation, did you really need the blitz? Why? If you saw the 4th and 10 play, he went man-to-man all across the board, blitzed, and they were going to get necessarily blitzed. They went to a 4-man rush, but they went man-to-man. Everybody was covered, and then Carson Palmer, he's like him too. When you look on the other side, you see Cam Newton. He's so big, he was able to break out of that tackle and step forward and complete the pass and to keep the drive alive. It is when you look at it, it's almost unthinkable that they would lose this game at home up 17-0.
Unbelievable. Billy Osborne, we're going to be checking in with him throughout the rest of the second half of this football season as he does a great job breaking these games down on Twitter. I was talking to Oz off the air today before the show, And I said, man, I saw your tweet breaking down Kuechly and the way he disrupted that game. It was really good. So check him out at Ozzy_football. Ozzy_football. Follow him there and check out these breakdowns of the way this game went down on Sunday as the Eagles lose to Carolina. And they fall to 3-4, man. We'll hook up again soon, pal.
All right, buddy. Next time I pick against the Eagles, I hope I'm wrong. I even said that. It's just one of those things. So let's hope that let's hope this time off and they come back and they get a W against or out in London on another country, another continent.